call the regularly scheduled meeting of the Harlingen City Commission to order and ask Commissioner Ruben de la Rosa to lead us in an invocation.
Loving God, whose peace passes all our understandings, as we face this present pandemic and the experienced fear and anxiety, may we hear your voice, bringing calm to the storm of our time. Strengthen those who work in limited spread of infection and those who seek to care for the sick. And keep us mindful of those most unvaluable. Many we shape our living to protect one another. And may our changing habits, practice, and sacrifices be the greater love of our community and all your people. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome all of you to our meeting tonight, whether you're here in person or perhaps listening in on the live stream. We appreciate your participation and would like to remind you that the census is very, very important. We need to have everyone to participate so that not only will we receive our share of federal funding, adequate representation in Austin and in Washington, D.C., but also to attract new business and industry to our community as they learn that we have a good-sized population in our city, and that can be put to good use as a great workforce. Also ask you to be mindful not to let our guard down, even though we've seen some promising news with hospitalizations going down in our area. We need to continue to follow the 3 W's, and that's to wear your mask, wash your hands, and watch your distance. Keep distancing. Those things seem to really have turned the tide for us over the last couple of months, as well as avoiding large gatherings. So I urge each and every one of you to continue those practices and also to share that message with as many people as you can, because we don't want to see the folks at our hospitals overtaxed as they have been for the last 2 or 3 months, or to see more people die from the virus. And we can do that by doing our part and doing all of the practices that we know. So thank you for listening to that as part of our welcome tonight. The meeting has been called to order, and we'll have citizen communication. We have 5 individuals who have signed up to speak. We have one that would like to be called now, I believe. Yes, that's Mr. John Lane of 1702 Gabriel's Landing.
Yes, and I have also 3 more, Mayor, that signed up in person. So I will start with Mr. Lane first, and then I can call the 2 other people that are here, because the rest want to speak during the discussion of the item. So I will proceed with Mr. Lane.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hello, Mr. Lane. This is Amanda Lizondo. How are you? You signed up. You signed up for public comments. I'm going to go ahead and put you on the speaker. You have 2 minutes, and once you hear the ringer, that's it. The 2 minutes are up. So 1 moment, please. You may start now.
Okay, I'd like to talk about the budget proposals that y'all brought across. I'm trying to get my paperwork in front of me, but I'll go ahead and shoot off from the hip. The proposal that y'all shot was a 4.08 proposal on land taxes. And the problem I'm having with that right now is I'm looking at it in where I live at Adams Crossing subdivision, and I'm looking at 188 homes would raise their property tax at approximately $200 per home. And I'm thinking, well, why are they doing this? And I don't understand it, especially when the drainage problem is the way it is. And if we continue to raise the taxes and you're not fixing the drainage, you're kind of defeating the purpose. So if you want to work for the people and do a thing for the people, fix the drainage, get the infrastructure, and develop, and you'll succeed extremely high if you do it in that process. So please think about it. Work for the people. Quit working for the developers, and you're going to succeed. And this proposed tax, I hate to tell you, it's just not a good idea right now until the drainage is fixed. Thank you very much, and I rescind on all my comments to the next speaker. Thanks so much. Bye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lane.
Okay.
All right, then we will call upon the other individuals when we reach the item that they would like to address. And so that will begin with board recognition. We had one tonight, but he's unable to attend, so we'll pass that item until we can appropriately recognize Mike Alex for serving on the Economic Development Corporation Board. Item 2 is the approval of...
Mayor.
I have 2 more people that signed up.
Oh, we have 2 others?
Yes.
Okay.
And I will call on Mr. King. Klein? Yes, sir.
Lars Keim?
Okay, well.
No. That, I don't want to.
Okay. So then we have Raymond Reyes.
Yeah, can I just speak when the item comes up?
Oh, okay. That's up to you.
Yeah.
Okay, which item do you want to speak on?
On the situation that's going on with SERS.
Okay.
And then I have one more, Mayor. It's Mr. Carmona.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners. Just wanted to speak real quick on one thing. The jailers of the police department, to see if they could qualify out of the CARES Act for the hazard pay. They've been dealing with the prisoners. We haven't really had much of a reduction since March 15th, since COVID started. So I wanted to have them consider. They're busy every day sanitizing the cells prior to the inmates coming in, and after the inmates leave, they're there having to feed them and house them and take care of them. So they're exposed to the environment more so when it's brought in on haphazard notice. So I think that they are also part of the front line, the jailers, the detention booking officers that we have there. There's only 7 of them, and to see if they can qualify for the hazard pay out of that CARES Act. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mayor, the rest want to speak when the item is being discussed.
Okay. All right, well, I did handle item 1. We'll go then next to item 2, which is the approval of the minutes of the special meeting of July 9th, 2020, and the joint special meeting of the City Commission and the Harlingen Community Improvement Board of August 23rd, 2019. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Second. I believe Mr. Puente seconded.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner De La Rosa and a second by Commissioner Puente. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Next item are the consent agenda items 3A through D. Is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
So moved, Mayor.
Mayor, I wanted to know if I could take 3 out of the consent agenda, just for clarification. Just 3A. If we could take it out.
Take which one out?
3A on the second and final reading.
All right, we'll take 3A out and
So my motion is to approve 3B through D.
Okay.
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 3A is the second final reading to approve an ordinance to amend the City of Harlingen Code of Ordinances, Chapter 111, zoning, Article 12, Section 111-329, gasoline stations by deleting this section in its entirety.
Okay, so my question was, and I'm not sure if this is for Dan or for planning and zoning, but I just wanted to clarify the reason or the rationale of taking out the gasoline clause in that was, I never got a clear answer. I don't remember what it was.
So we covered that during the item, Commissioner, but the response was because we had an ordinance in the books from 79 that was not what other in the valley or in other cities have. And so what we wanted to do was present that option to the City Council to either remove that or keep that in the books. And I believe the vote 4-1 was to go ahead and remove that and change that ordinance.
Okay, so the reason for taking it out, my argument has always been the same. It's for the safety of the residents and the kids that attend Travis Elementary and St. Anthony's. So if this was implemented in 1979, and I think one of the reasons was it was outdated, then how is taking that out being safer for the community in that area?
So there's still regulations in place, safety regulations through TCEQ that have to be followed with these gasoline stations. And so this will still fall under those requirements and those regulations. So our ordinance was on top of that. And so there still be safety regulations in place for these type of service stations.
Okay.
They'll be through the state.
All right, and then the other issue was the traffic issue. Since 1979, that was one of the reasons they implemented this, was because of the traffic count. And then I'm trying to figure out, so how can we justify that when traffic is actually risen, and how are we going to address that issue?
Traffic has gone up, I mean, obviously over the years, but it is a state roadway. Both Tyler and Harrison are state roads, and there are 3-lane roadways with shoulders on both sides. And so what we looked at with traffic, the traffic has gone to, I think it's 15,000 on peak on either side. And so we don't know that there's going to be an issue. I can't say that there isn't. We have to leave that to the developers. And they decided that's a good location for their convenience store.
Okay, so, and I get the state highway issue, but that's on Tyler and Harrison. We're talking about, what about the streets in between? Because those are city streets. And if I'm not mistaken, the nearest crosswalk is that at Travis on, would that be 7th? Because that's what I'm worried about too.
I think that's 9th Street.
9th Street?
Yeah.
Well, that's where the property is, isn't it? On 9th Street? Okay, so the nearest crosswalk from there would be the light on 10th?
I don't have an answer for that, Commissioner. I didn't realize you were going to ask these questions. I would have been prepared, but I don't have an answer for that.
Javier, do you have any idea as far as the traffic count or any of, as far as the numbers or the research done for this?
A traffic impact, good afternoon, Commissioners. A traffic impact analysis has not been done for this project because it's not required, but the company has told me that they're willing to put one together if desired.
Okay. Okay, that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Can I ask a question? Do we have any ordinances that require traffic counts for businesses?
I'm going to let Javier answer that question.
No, we don't.
Okay.
But for schools, have we ever done any in the past for schools?
I don't believe so. In the new ordinance that we're working on, the subdivision ordinance, I think the city engineer, there's some wording in there that the city engineer has the ability to require traffic impact analysis for certain subdivisions, but we don't have anything at this time.
Okay. It just, because I think there, if I'm not mistaken, there was one for St. Anthony's when HEB opened up their gas tank, so.
Sometimes companies do them on their own.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, is there a motion to adopt?
Motion to adopt 3A.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Item 4 is a public hearing to solicit comments from the public for or against the adoption of the City of Harlingen annual budget for fiscal year 2020-2021.
Good evening, Mayor and City Commissioners. I'd like to give a brief overview of the final proposed annual budget for your consideration. This is a culmination of several meetings with departments and 3 budget workshops over the past few months. And so this is the result of those meetings. We're beginning the year with our estimated fund balance of $17,605,000. And we're proposing revenues and expenditures in an equal amount of $48,662,236, ending with the same amount of fund balance as the beginning of $17,605,000. These are the proposed non-recurring one-time purchases. These are items that we've gone through over the past meetings with non-recurring one-time purchases totaling $2,492,081, which are included in the budget. Proposed revenues of $48,662,236 comprise largely of sales tax of $19.4 million, property tax of $19.2 million, franchise fees and other of $3.7 million, and then other revenues totaling $48,662,236. Our revenues proposed compared to the current fiscal year 2020 budget are as follows. There's an increase of $2,155,166, or approximately 4.63%. Our proposed expenditures of $48,662,236 comprise largely of personnel services of $33,976,100, approximately 70% of the total expenditures. Our next largest expenditure is services charges of $8.6 million, and then we have capital outlay, financing incentives, and supplies. Our personnel services comprise, police is the largest one. I don't have the number on there, but fire is the second. So police is about $13.8 million. Fire is about $9.8 million. Public Works and support about $2 million, totaling $33,976,000. Our expenditure budget comparison in the general fund, we have $47,885,000 for the current year, fiscal year 2020, compared to the proposed $48,662,236, a difference of approximately $777,000 or 1.62%. Our proposed budget for other special revenue funds, including tennis court, hotel motel, comprise revenues of $9,616,000 compared to expenditures of $10,191,000. Revenues over expenditures of $575,000, leaving an ending fund balance in special revenues of $6,175,853. For enterprise funds, we have a total of $10,841,000 in proposed revenues, the largest one being the sanitation fund at $9.6 million. Expenditures for all enterprise funds at $12,015,000, with sanitation landfill being the largest at $10.5 million. So expenditures over revenues of $1,174,000, leaving an ending fund balance for enterprise funds of $3.5 million at the end of the year of 2021. Our internal service funds, total revenues of $8,895,000 compared to expenditures of $9,022,000, leaving expenditures over revenues of $127,654, leaving ending fund balance in internal service funds at $3,910,576. This is a summary of all funds of the city: the general fund, special revenue funds, enterprise funds, and internal service funds. The revenues for all funds is $78,015,000 compared to expenditures of $79,892,000, with excess expenditures over revenues of $1,877,000, leaving budgeted fund balance at the end of the year of $31,229,789. $17,605,000 of that is in the general fund. That's a brief overview. If you have any questions.
This has been the culmination of countless hours of staff time and preparation of developing the budget to present at a series of 3 different workshops that all the commissioners participated in, and there was a good discussion. We changed some things as a result of those discussions. Good suggestions made by the commission, and this is what is the final proposal that we'll need to consider tonight. But we asked if there's any public comment on that. There's the public.
Yes.
This is a public hearing, so I'll open the public hearing. If anyone would like to speak for or against the proposed budget, please step forward, state your name and your residence address. Robert, you want to step aside in case somebody wants to approach the podium? Okay, you didn't scare them off. I guess they didn't want to come.
Mayor,
All right. Hearing none.
Mayor,
Yes.
I do have Ron Lozano that asked to be.
Okay, let's call Mr. Lozano.
Okay.
I do want to point out that this actually comes with a slight decrease in the tax rate.
That is correct.
Although there is an increase in overall revenue as a result of new
Development.
New revenues coming into our city. There is more revenue,
Hello,
but it's
Ron?
actually a slight decrease
Hello?
in the tax rate.
This is
That is correct, yes.
Okay. I'm going to put the 2-minute timer. You asked to speak on the budget. So I'll tell you when I'm going to put the clock. You may start right now.
Mr. Rodriguez, you noted that you had placed this budget on the city website. Did you publish it anywhere else?
We posted in the newspaper for the public hearing.
And what day was it published in? Are you talking about the Valley Morning Star?
Yes, sir.
And what day was that?
I believe it was on that. I actually have it here. I don't have the exact date with me, but it was on the Saturday.
Well, Mr. Lozano, you can submit.
You know what part of the newspaper it was placed in?
You can submit questions later if you'd like to. If you'd like to make comments, your time is running. You might as well do that now.
Well, that's fine, because I'm
It was
not
on the
certain that these
22nd.
answers are going to come later, and there is a time constraint with the tax rate next regularly scheduled meeting, as you well know.
Yes, sir. It was September 22nd.
No.
August 22nd.
I mean, August 22nd.
Okay. Anything else? Does that conclude?
Yes.
Does that conclude, Mr. Lozano?
How much did you say that the golf course lost?
Now, you can submit questions. This is a time for you to comment for or against.
And that's my comment. That's my comment. I realize, Mayor, you don't like America's First Amendment. That you made clear to the deceased Rubio and Yolanda Shofet, and maybe someone else that you'd like to include in that group. But whether you like it or not, Texas law right now says that we do have a right at public hearings.
Your time is up.
That's fine. I'm just educating the mayor on something he well knows, but he's trying to mislead the public, which is something else
All right,
he likes to do.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lozano. All right.
That's it, Mayor. No more as far as.
No other, all right, then, hearing no one else who'd like to speak for or against the proposed budget, I'll close the public hearing and go to item 5, which is the consideration of possible action to approve an ordinance on first reading adopting the City of Harlingen's budget for fiscal year 2020-21 by a record vote. So
The Texas Local Government Code, Section 102007, requires the City Commission's vote to adopt a budget to record at a record vote. Exhibit A displays total proposed revenues and expenditures and estimated fund balances by fund for year 2021. Total proposed revenues of $78,015,363 and total proposed expenditures of $79,892,457. Revenues and expenditures for the Community Development Block Grant, Harlingen Downtown Improvement District, EDC, Harlingen Community Improvement Board, and Harlingen Waterworks and Valley International Airport are not included in this budget.
Okay, if we could have the city attorney read the caption, please.
An ordinance adopting the revenue and expenditure budget for the city of Harlingen, Texas for the fiscal year October 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2021 in the amount of $78,015,363 and $79,892,457 respectively, providing for publication of the caption of this ordinance and ordaining other matters related to the foregoing.
Is there a motion to adopt the ordinance on the budget?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second.
It is a record vote, Mayor?
All right, but is there any other discussion? All right, hearing none, I'll just go.
Just say aye. Aye for approval, Rick?
Aye. Commissioner Uribe, Commissioner Puente,
Aye.
Commissioner Del Rosso, Commissioner Leal.
I say aye.
Commissioner
Commissioner
Nesmar.
Nesmar, aye.
All right.
Thank you.
It's unanimous, and the motion carries. Item 6 is a consideration of possible action to appeal the decision made by the Downtown Improvement District Board in regards to hurricane shutters installed on the building located at 309 West Van Buren in accordance with Article 18 Downtown District Overlay.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Commissioners. How are you today? Nice and warm out there? I'm sorry? Staff's going to make a presentation first. Oh, staff is going to make a presentation first. Well, I apologize.
Thank you, Mr. Pena.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Alexa Salinese. I'm the Downtown Director. For these hurricane shutters, the hurricane shutters were installed during the pandemic without DID approval. The owners of Sirs Martini were notified and submitted information to the DID office for approval on August 4th of 2020. The DID board denied the request, and on the same day, the owners of Sirs Martini Lounge notified me with the intent to appeal. This item comes before you with the final decision. Any questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Sure.
When did the board vote on this situation?
August 4th.
And was there any prior meetings to the August 4th that happened and that there was not a vote taken?
Yes, on June 2nd.
Okay, what was the reason on June 2nd of why there was not a vote taken?
We lost quorum.
You lost quorum? Because I understood somebody walked out of that meeting. Can you identify whoever walked out of that meeting to lose the quorum?
Yes, Mr. DeBrook.
And is he the chairman of that board?
No, sir.
So he's just a member of the board?
Yes, sir.
And did he have a medical excuse or
No,
just
sir.
didn't like the way the meeting was going, or?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So what I understood was there was a vote going to be taking place, and I guess it didn't look like he was going to get his way, or the vote was going to go against him, so he walked out and and lost quorum.
We hadn't gotten to that point, Commissioner. We were just having a discussion. The chairman didn't call for a vote yet, so he just walked out. And we don't know why he did it. He just did it.
There's still not a way to act, I mean,
No, I know,
when you're
but
having meetings, right? I mean, we can have a discussion as a board and have I would think we would act better, right? And as we represent our constituents, or in this case, the downtown district.
Right, as a result, we lost a quorum, so we had to call the meeting off, and we just stopped the meeting, and everything just came to a halt.
All right, I just want to clear, because I just wanted to hear what that was. So then there was a second meeting on August 4th, and that's when they voted, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the reasoning behind, what is the issue with the shutters? Because I know this particular property prior to this new tenant or owner, I don't know if they own the property, they're leasing it, but they made significant improvements to it, which used to be an eyesore, and put a ton of money, and I don't know if these are for protection or how it works, but I don't know what the complaint is, if they've done such a great job with an extensive remodel and bringing something nice to our community.
Yes, sir, of course. Yes, and we provided those grants to go ahead and help them revitalize their business. Now, there was no discussion in regards to that item of why it just denied. Two only board members were for it and the rest were against it.
Because this seems very tasteful, and unless you told me there were shutters behind that, I wouldn't know the difference.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, Commissioner, all they're doing is telling us what the facts facts are.
Okay.
They're not really staff's not really taking a position on this. They're just telling us what happened. And so the process now is to allow them to allow the property owner to to present their appeal to us.
Okay.
And we'll consider that appeal. Gabe, are you trying to say something?
Mesmer wanted to talk.
Mark has a question. Commissioner Mesmer had a question there.
Go ahead, Mike.
Okay. Mike, go ahead.
One, I've not seen these shutters. Are they tasteful or not? And the second question, has our legal department looked at this? Is it legal to have shutters on buildings in downtown or not? No. Thank you.
There should be a copy of the shutters in your packet, Commissioner, a photo of them. Shutters are allowed in the downtown district if they're conducive to the building. That's why they require board approval, because the board ultimately makes that decision whether they comply with the look of the building. And so the board decided that in this case they didn't, so they denied the request.
Gabriel, may I ask a question?
Yes.
In our Code of Ordinances 111.509, Section E, windows, I believe it says shutters, unless appropriate to the style of the building, are not allowed.
But that's...
But there is an ordinance that they're not allowed, but they can go to the board and ask approval. Is that correct?
Yes.
I just want to clarify, we do have an ordinance that says shutters are not allowed.
You can delete it.
That's correct. And they went to the board and the board denied the request.
Okay.
And
is
the only...
that why they denied it? Because of the ordinance?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Did they deny it because of that ordinance?
Yes.
So we can potentially delete that ordinance?
Well, we can override, or we can vote to allow the applicant.
Yes, you can do that.
We have the opportunity. I'm making it clear that there is an ordinance. They've appealed it to us to say, can we
allow it?
You have the ultimate say.
We have the ultimate say.
And it's an overlay district that's only particular to that particular part of town, which is a DID and...
So we can hear from the owners? So we're going to hear from the owners, is that what you said?
That's right.
Yes.
Once you all...
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'll be quiet.
And then
you can take over anytime, Mayor.
So actually, the item is the appeal. So we're going to let the property owner appeal that. I think that Mr. Pena is going to speak
Good afternoon
first.
Again, I apologize to the city staff for jumping ahead of them. Commissioner Yad, you're absolutely correct, but the wording is really, really interesting, because the wording of, and I'm not sure if we call it an ordinance or it's just a regulation that's in the Downtown Improvement District. It says shutters, unless appropriate to the style of the building, are not allowed. Now, the problem with that is who makes a determination of what is appropriate or not. And we have provided you with a copy of the shutters, and I've been downtown, as you all well know, and have problems myself, but that's beside the point. There are other buildings that have plywood in their doors, and they're certainly not appropriate. This is, and you have other pictures of the inside of the building of the Martini Lounge. But the main thing here is that these are very nice, the building is well kept, and they're used for two reasons. One is to protect the interior of the building, but also because we're in the hurricane season, and they are hurricane shutters. They are both electrical, and if electricity goes out, then they're able to be to use the hand wounding things on that. So there are three reasons I think you should go ahead and consider approving it. The first reason is they really are nice. I wish I could have shutters like that in my building, but they are really, really nice. And if you go down there, you'll see. And if you go downtown district, you'll see other areas that are not quite as nice. And we're not here to debate those. But the second reason that you should approve it is that this is so vague. Who is going to make the determination of what is appropriate or not? That is in Mr. Boswell is a lawyer, and you have your legal counsel here as well. Those are what we call vague kinds of regulations that are typically struck down by the courts. My clients do not want to go to the courts. My clients want to move on and do their business. We're asking you to consider overriding the downtown improvement district. The question was asked if there was a reason given as to the denial on the second meeting, and my clients tell me, and I don't know if the minutes are available to you, but there was no reason given for the denial. And they asked specifically, well, why are you denying us to put them up? So as a result of that, I think we're all familiar with the individuals involved in the downtown district. We're all familiar with some of their characteristics. And for a great part, they do some good. But on the other hand, in this particular case, there was a certain amount of intimidation that was used, not only on my clients, but on some of the board members. So I'd ask the commission to please consider this and go ahead and override and approve the martini bars.
All right, thank you, Mr. Pena.
Thank you.
We also have Mr. Jesus Pena, who signed up for this item.
Hello, my name is Jesus Pena. I am the owner of Source Martini Lounge. Now, I have two reasons for putting up the shutters. One is for storm damage, which you all know we just had a storm a couple of weeks ago, and they did great. I mean, I didn't have any problems in my building, so we know they work. Two, theft, vandalism. It's not the best part of town, but I'd make the business there to improve that part of town. Now I'm just trying to protect my inventory that's in that building, and that's all I'm trying to do. That's the two reasons why we put up the shutters, for storm damage, theft, and vandalism. And as you know, I mean, we've had riots, I mean, not here, but at other places, and damage all over. So I don't want that to happen in my building. So I encourage you all to please vote for my shutters. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, Mr. Pena. And then I think we have...
There's no relation, by the way.
All right, well, because he's, I could tell that because he's very well spoken and a nice
guy. He got the Pena good looks.
Mr. Mayor,
and you're a well spoken, very nice looking guy too. But I could tell there was not a resemblance.
Mr. Mayor, may I at this time make a motion?
Well, wait, there's somebody else who wants to speak, that signed up to speak.
Okay.
Ms. Carmina Mojadehi.
Hello, Commissioners, Mayor.
Would you mind pulling the mic down? Thank you.
I just pretty much want to reiterate what they've all said. This is a pandemic time. They were put on for safety reasons, hurricanes. They're beautiful. we do the interior, you guys have it. I think in all this, we've been bullied by some members. The DID has done a great job. For the most part, most members are very honest, hardworking, very open-minded, but then you have others that are not willing to reason, are childish. And during this time, when we're losing people left and right, dying every day during this pandemic of COVID, this is what we've come to. I just don't understand, and as you know, they're beautiful, and I love my brother's place. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Was there?
I have one more, Mayor. It's Raymond Reyes on the same topic.
My name is Raymond Reyes, 706 Nantucket Drive here in Harlingen, Texas. We've been doing business here in Harlingen, originally from San Antonio. Since 1976, we've owned property in the downtown area. And when we first moved down here, the downtown has changed a lot. There's been a lot of good, positive changes, especially on my side of the railroad tracks. I've known Mr. Peña for a very long time, and I think what he's done has actually improved that area, and there's been a lot of good benefits, a lot of good comments. It's one of the reasons why I changed my particular venue, which my father owned 5 gentlemen's clubs in the state we were in that business for 53 years. That was never me, so I switched it over to the current venue that it is. It's called The Spot, where we host music events, and I think both of our businesses complement each other because we have people that come over from SIRS and enjoy our venue, and the same thing from our venue go over there. I've seen the shutters myself. I've been in his business, and it's very nice. So I can understand being in that area. It's kind of tough sometimes to do business, but you want to protect it, and the shutters do offer the protection because we are in a hurricane zone. I have bars on my building that have been up there since the mid-70s, and those bars have protected, stuff, flying debris from, shattering my windows. So I just never thought of putting shutters, but that was on my father. But I think as long as we're doing and moving towards positive things in the downtown, which is what we all want in Harlingen, especially on that side of town, I think the board should go ahead and look at it. And if y'all have the pictures and seen what he's actually done to the place compared to what it was, I would hope that you guys would go ahead and approve for them to stay, because I think they were done correctly. They're aesthetically look nice, and that's all I had. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. All right, that's it for people who signed up for public comment. Okay, so this body can, if you can ask questions, or you can somebody can make a motion to sustain the appeal, which would be.
Did you want to say something? Or
to deny it.
I would like to. How do I word it? I
would say sustain the appeal.
Sustain the appeal to allow them to keep the shutters.
I'll second that, but I just want to make a comment. I get torn on things like this because people do things and then they say it's better to bear the shame than bear the pain. But in this case, as I look at these pictures, I saw the shutters. I have a special sympathy for certain businesses that are being affected by this pandemic. And they don't look horrible. They really look nice. What they've done to that area of town, I need to commend them. I want them to know that. I'm not happy with what happened, somebody walking out of a meeting like that, but that's neither here nor there. Mm-hmm. We're here to set everything in motion, and so I've seconded your motion, and so, Mayor, I've said my piece.
Okay. Any other discussion?
I've gone and I've looked at the Martini Lounge. I went and looked at the shutters. I looked at the front. Looks very clean, very professional, and they look nice. So, I'm in favor of this.
Yeah. One might say they're even appropriate to the style of the building, Mr. Peña.
Yeah, great taste.
So I would certainly interpret that in this particular case as such. So unless there's any other discussion, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Mr. Pena, the owner of this is a great addition to our downtown area. We really certainly appreciate your investment in that part of our community, and we sympathize with this current situation that all of our bars are in, and we hope that you'll be able to return to operation just as soon as possible. So that's why it's important for us all to follow the rules. But thank you again for your investment in our community, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Okay. Item 7, consideration possible action to approve an updated legal services agreement with City Attorney Ricardo J. Navarro and the law firm of Denton, Navarro, Bernal, and Zach for fiscal year 2020-21.
Mayor, you want to go? You want me to go?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Mayor, Commissioners. So we're just looking to update Denton Navarro's contract for legal services. One is to clarify that provides legal services for the city. There are other entities within the city, Waterworks, Airport. Mr. Denton Navarro's legal firm represents the city, and so he wanted to clarify that in the agreement. The other is the hourly rate. He wanted to revise that to reflect rates that are currently being charged for legal services for municipalities. I will point out that the budget is capped at $513,000, which is our budgeted amount. And so even though the services, the hours may go beyond that, and sometimes they do, because we use Rick's firm quite a bit, he is still capped at that dollar amount. And so those are the major changes, and now, Rick, you want to say anything, you go ahead.
No, I think this legal services agreement is just it's an update with these changes. We've been under it for 2 years now. We're going into our 4th year. I remain your charter-appointed city attorney, and then the legal department budget, which is the same today as it was when we started doing this work, is the same. The updated contract clarifies that we're not lawyers for the Waterworks or the airport. They have their own lawyers, and it works out better that they have their own lawyers because sometimes there are potential conflict issues. So it just clarifies we're the city's lawyers, not the lawyers. Although we will step in and help out with those entities when necessary and when there's no conflict. The hourly rates are adjusted to be more in line with what we're doing for everyone else within our firm and in other parts of the state. There is a cap. Like I say, we have the same budget. We went over budget the very first year. It was a learning year. We ate that cost, and then every year after that, we've come in under budget.
I did send him a thank you note. I want to point that out.
And we've been able to.
And I'll say also that we did I think it was last year when Nettie Duran resigned or retired from the city. She continues to work with me on a contract basis to help us out in Muni Court. So that's worked out quite well. We've absorbed those costs, and we have turned back to administration the several offices that we used to use that are now being used by administration. So and of course we bear all the employee costs, the insurances, the benefit package, everything. That's part of what goes into our budget. So we roll that in, and we get economies of scale by doing it the way we do. And I think that we are also able to make not just the lawyers in the Valley office available to you, but also lawyers in other offices when needed. So I think it's working out well. I think city manager thinks it's working out well. So we'd like to continue that with just the updated.
I'm very happy and satisfied with the services Rick and his firm has provided the city. As Rick pointed out, we not only have access to the local lawyers, but also folks in San Antonio and elsewhere. which is a huge benefit to us. So staff is recommending approval of the updated agreement.
So on the update, does this extend the term, or is there an expiration date of the current, or is it
well,
how does that work?
This one is effective for the next fiscal year. We're sort of linking it to the fiscal year because that's going to be in line with the budgeted amount. It does have a carryover clause, and that's actually what happened with the one we're under right now.
Okay.
It was for a fiscal year 2 years ago. It just carried over. And so we're just updating that, and it will carry over if we don't
It can be terminated.
Right, but
there is a termination clause.
It's basically a housekeeping.
That's what it is,
It
exactly.
is an at-will contract, I will say, okay, I mean,
Yeah, but what I'm asking is, the only changes really is you're just making clarification on certain items. like
What
we
the
discussed
scope of the
about
representation
Your scope of
is.
work, what it covers,
Correct.
that it doesn't cover the other entities.
That's
that
correct.
was not clear in the other contract, right?
He wanted to clarify who he represents.
There were
Yes,
a
sir.
couple of issues that came up over the course of time where I realized, okay, I need to clarify who my client is, okay?
Understood.
And it's not these other entities. We've just had that issue come up.
Or who the scope of services is for.
Correct.
So do you
It's
need a
the same
motion?
scope of
Yeah,
services.
we need a,
I'd like to motion for an approval.
Second.
okay, we have a motion and a second. Mr. Lozano signed up to speak on this issue, so we'll let him have his 2 minutes.
Mr. DeLauro, the city commissioner Uribe asked you about the term of the contract. And within the itemization, you put that the contract goes beyond. What does that mean?
You're not required to answer any questions
Well,
that
you know,
Mr. Lozano
look.
puts to you.
Nobody's required to answer because you're like to allude to Republican presidents. Even this mass that you started out, you couldn't remember the 3 W's. CDC, which is now under his authority of Trump, suggests that the mask should be worn
And
below the
actually,
nose.
your
Now,
item
you don't want me to
is
talk to
for-
Navarro.
Is
so
for you to
who-
speak on this agenda item, and that's what
and but you won't let me talk to Navarro. That's what Mr. Uribe was trying to get out of
I'm not going to let you
him.
ask questions, but you can make comments.
55,
You need to put your
551-07, you see, you don't even know the CDC guidelines, and you don't know the law. Never does it say that you can't ask questions. And that's what I'm trying to prove to the Court of Appeals, that you don't know and that you've lied to them. So, Mr. Navarro, didn't you put in there in the packet that your term is perennial because you used the term beyond? Be chicken like you are, because that's the kind of caliber. When Mr. Uribe sought help, he's on the city commission, you neglected to help him because you're biased. And that's what you're paying over $500,000 for, and another line item that you say nothing's tweaked. How come $35,000 is there not tweaked? Because we're not looking at the budget. Thank you very much.
All right, is there any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 8, consideration possible action to approve a resolution accepting the Harlingen Waterworks Systems budget for fiscal year 2020-21.
Good afternoon, Mr.
Tim.
Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager. It's my pleasure to present Harlingen Waterworks fiscal year 2021 budget that our board approved on July the 29th. A lot of time has been placed into this budget. We've gone through a transition in our finance director. I want to thank Ron De La Garza, who's joined us just about 6 months ago, and spent a lot of time, and I think we've got a really good tight budget to present. So, outline the presentation. I'll give a budget overview. Format will be a little bit different than you've seen in the past. I'm going to talk about some capital expense highlights and then a bond issuance opportunity. There is no bond funding or bond issue that's baked into the budget, but it's a topic I think we should discuss given the low interest rate environment that we're in. Okay, let me make sure. There we go. So this is following closely the working capital schedule that you have in your packet. What we're seeing out in the system, we're adding about 1.5% new active accounts to our system in this current fiscal year. And so we have conservatively assumed that our revenues will be increasing 1% on water and wastewater service revenues. However, that same interest rate environment has also reduced our investment earnings, which has pulled down our total increase in revenue. So we're essentially flat compared to where we were last year. Regarding personnel operating expenses, we are budgeting a 3% increase over the current year fiscal year budget at $9.2 million. In that amount is merit and health adjustments similar to what the city departments are doing. We have 148 budgeted positions. We are adding one with a water quality technician, and this is to ensure that we're flushing and maintaining water quality in the system and not using other departments and jeopardizing or sacrificing productivity. So we're adding that position. We have a classification, a reclass for a utility engineer. And this is being brought over from the IT department, who is able to make do with one fewer person. We really have a lot of needs in the engineering department, and it limits our ability to produce and execute capital projects. We've advertised for the utility engineer position for about 9 months now, and the response has been incredibly tepid. And so my hope is that by mentioning this here today, and it's not an insignificant addition in cost, is to get the word out that we do have a great opportunity for a young engineer who has a license, and we have a very generous compensation to offer. And so if any of you know young civil engineers who would be interested in the water business, we've got a great opportunity. We have a number of licensed wastewater treatment operators, and they're currently below the compensation level that we find for comparable municipal wastewater utilities in the valley. And they're also below our licensed water treatment operators, and so we've got an adjustment to bring them a little bit closer to a market rate. Our non-personnel operating expenses, likewise, increasing 3%. I'll go into some detail on that in a subsequent slide. Capital expenses, we continue to fund debt service. You're aware that we refinanced a 2010 issue back last December. That's got perhaps over $600,000 savings in true interest cost on a net present value basis. The 33% reduction is that the refinancing does not have any principal payments in the current, in the 2021 year. So we're going to see that jump up in 2022. The big number here that I don't think Harlingen Waterworks has ever seen, a $13 million budget allowance for capital improvement projects. We've not executed projects the last couple of years at the rate that we wanted to. If we do spend this amount, the 3-year average is going to be around $6.2 million. I don't think that we're going to get to 13. Some of these projects depend on outside forces, but we do have about 7.5 that are either in process or ready to bid. Our capital assets and equipment expenditures are being proposed at about $1.3 million. That's 75% more than we normally see on average. We're living with some really old equipment that's we're starting to notice our maintenance costs go through the roof. And it's really time to bite the bullet and take care of that. I would expect next year that to go down. On working capital, really our bank account here, if everything in the preceding proves to form, we'll be decreasing our working capital by about $10.4 million. We estimate we're going to finish 2020 with 27.4, and then ending 2021 with just over 17. This is a summary of major operating expense changes that are greater than 10,000. The ones of note here, there's a raw water diversion. Irrigation district has raised their rates the first time in 5 years, and so it's not a very big percentage increase for them. But we're going to have some additional expenses just to bring our water from the river to our reservoirs. We have an impact fee and rate study. These are really separate studies totaling $175,000, and we're currently engaged in a master plan that you've heard me talk about, and I'll probably do it again before this is over. Once that is done, we're going to have a plan in place that will serve as a foundation for doing that impact fee study. We should be doing it every 5 years. The rate study looks at, are we charging the right customers the right fraction or the right percentage of the bill, and what kind of revenue requirements are we going to have to meet our CIP objectives. Going down, looking at chemicals, we've had a 24% increase in a recent bid on our chlorine to disinfect water. We have some really big numbers on lift station pumps and headworks pumps. Those, in my mind, are capital assets, but we don't have those identified as depreciable assets, and so they have to be charged as an operating expense. We didn't have any of those costs for pumps last year, but we definitely need to maintain those to make sure our system's running. So Our total non-personnel changes are about $250,000 on the operating side. To hit on some capital expense highlights, we have some of the equipment that I was talking about. If you can see these two lines here, this sewer jet truck is a 2002. We spent $140,000 in maintenance cost on that truck since that time. It's time to replace it. The tanker for hauling wastewater is another unit that we don't use every day, but it's essential to our system. We have a lift station that doesn't have pumps or force mains, so we have to pump it out. That is a 1989 vintage machine, and the truck, the chassis, the tank, the pumps, they're shot. They're at the end of their life. So adding this up, and there's a number of other ones. We've got a 1-ton utility service truck. It's got 170,000 miles riding around in town, and so we're taking on a much bigger load. I do expect this to go down substantially next year. We've talked, moving on to capital improvement projects, we've talked in the past about asbestos cement pipe, and it's really the cause of the majority of the breaks that we experience in our system, our water system every year. We're currently undergoing a replacement project in the Treasure Hills area, and we're seeing a cost about $1 million per mile to do that using a trenchless pipe bursting approach, and that's not been as smooth as we might hope it to be, and we're learning a lot of lessons as we go through that. If we approach our replacement program at $3 million a year, it's going to take over 50 years to rid our system of all those red dots that we see scattered through the system where we find that asbestos cement pipe. Treasure Hills is underway. Currently, we think, well, it's a 17,400 foot project. Before the end of the fiscal year, we think we're going to expense 1.8. That's going to carry over about until February. We think another 1.5 is going to hit the 2021 budget. Pendleton Place, a very similar project. Asbestos cement pipe, another one of those areas where we see a high density of breaks, about over a mile longer than the Treasure Hills project, and using the same type of bid pricing levels, we think that that's going to hit $4.5 million. We're ready to bid this within the next 30 days. So, and then the last CIP project that I'm going to highlight and call to attention is our belt press project. You've heard us talk about it last year. We are under contract for a $700,000 belt press. It's not inexpensive equipment. Been some delays, I think, that are largely pandemic related, but we think the full amount budgeted, $1.5 million, will occur in 2021. If we take this project and the two pipeline projects, that's $7.5 million of our $13 million CIP goal. So we are ready to spend significantly more on CIP coming up in 2021. You've heard me talk about the master plan, and I've showed you nice, pretty pictures from other places. This is Harlingen. This is a fire flow analysis showing where our fire flow capacity is. And there's some areas here that need to be addressed. I know I've spoken with one of the commissioners about their area, and so our CIP will address and improve some of that. Over the next 20 years, there will be growth in Harlingen, and if we do nothing to upgrade our system and our capacity, we're going to have some real issues on this side of town and getting into low pressure territory wherever you see the orange color. The CIP will address that as well. And we look at water age. We've got a water quality technician. The red areas are about 10 days old from the point in time that that water leaves the plant. That's not saying that's bad water, but as you get to the extremities, you have to monitor the situation to make sure your disinfectant doesn't go below safe levels. The master plan, it's going to be an integrated CIP program. It's going to be prioritized, but it won't give a schedule. It serves as a foundation for budgets, bond issues, and ultimately any rate adjustments to address revenue requirements. And once that's done, we are going to be in really good position to do an impact fee study and a rate study. So moving on to a bond issuance opportunity, this is essentially what you're seeing in the working capital schedule. Some of the red lines are performance metrics that I don't intend to go into today. We talked to Hilltop Securities, our financial advisor, the city also uses, and they gave us a debt service schedule for a $20 million issue. And if we're going to end the year with $17 million, we're still in a favorable position. So we do not require a bond issue, but if rates are going to increase it may be wise for us to consider a bond issue to fund a lot of that CIP work that we know is coming. We've got an idea of projects we've already developed, but the master plan is going to add to that, and there's some pretty big numbers. I can assure you that that money can be spent pretty quickly. So that's all I had prepared for my presentation today. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them now or offline. You might want to give me a ring anytime.
All right. Does anybody have any questions for Tim?
I have a question, sir. During the last hurricane, we had, I understood there was several lift stations that went without power.
That's right.
Because the AP had, it was a severe power outage. In your plans, how do you plan to address that? I know that's a little difficult because the lift stations are old, or are you going to try to phase them out or do some kind of solar? Is there any kind of other options you can do so they're not without power for so long?
It's a great question, and I think it needs a lot of evaluation and discussion because we have some generators that we can move out there. It's not a big fleet. If you lose a panel, it doesn't matter if you have a generator. You need the panel to control the pump, and so maybe there's an approach where we buy a gas-powered pump that we can just move into the site. Other cities do that. Part of the challenge is having a staff. If you invest in a fleet of generators or pumps, you've got to have staff to be able to run that, and that involves cost. I'm not here to set the objective, but I think it's a worthy discussion because when you run out of power, it's one thing to say, well, it's a natural disaster and, that's, an act of God, but there's things we can do, and I think it's a worthy discussion. I don't have an answer for you regarding an immediate plan, but it's a discussion that I've had recently with another commissioner about that. I think it's a complicated question, involves a lot of cost, but I think it's a worthy discussion about what's the level of service that Harlingen really wants to have when there's a bad weather event and we lose power.
So again, to ask, maybe I ask it a different way. I see you have, consulting. There's things for consulting. I was just wondering if you or your board had considered, either hiring a consultant that does that kind of work. That you can, it might be worth the investment. To look at. It's not a short-term thing that you can fix right now, but it's happened because what I looked at was we've had several storms more closer together, right? And I don't know, the overall, you're talking about the 5-year, 10-year, 20-year plan, I would urge you just to kind of consider that as one of, you have several issues to deal with, right? But that's just an issue that came up that I was just like, wow, that's a problem.
So I think while you were on the utility board, Commissioner, you all implemented a program where you eliminated a significant number of lift stations.
Yes, and is that still continuing?
In favor of gravity flow projects that you all gave leadership to, and I think certainly we want to. The reasoning for doing that was very sound. And I think that's something that we need to continue, but
yes,
probably as Tim mentioned, it says we need to kind of get into that.
Look at it. Okay.
Yeah. So, all right. Any other questions?
Nope. Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay.
Thank you.
Motion and second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, like sign. The motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Item 9, consideration possible action to approve a resolution accepting the Valley International Airport's proposed 2021 budget. Marv.
Good evening, Mayor. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, City Commissioners. On August 21st, airport board meeting, regularly scheduled airport board meeting, the airport board had approved the staff's proposed budget for 2021. I have some slides here and like to go over it and from a 20,000-foot view, and you can feel free to ask any questions or stop me at any time. Our revenue, as you can imagine, this year airports nationwide have been affected very adversely with the COVID-19 and the lack of travelers. So you can see our revenue stream has been really devastated, 50% reduction on what we actually had the year before. And I apologize, I don't think that's the slide I sent, but I can tell you that over last year, we budgeted in 2020 nearly $7 million In 2021, we're going to be budgeting $3.6 million, which is actually a 48% reduction in revenue over the year before. We move to the next slide. Oh, well, there it is. It does pop up. So we can move to the next slide. I'm sorry, expenses. Technology. Well, let me move to the expenses portion, and they were pretty much flat over 2020. We had $6.8 million in 2020 budgeted, and in 2021 we'll be at that $6.8 million as well. As we move on to the net income, as you can see, our net income, we have a net income loss of $3.3 million from 2020 to 2021. And as you hit the button again and again, our saving grace will be the CARES Act that came in at $20.5 million for the city of Harlingen and Valley International Airport. And we expect to see about $6.6 million in CARES Act revenue for 2021. That will actually bring us to about a $3.5 million revenue, positive revenue flow, cash flow. On the next chart, we have capital outlay. We've been looking at items that need to be upgraded. As you heard from the Waterworks, we're doing the exact same thing. We have the FIS facility upgrades, that's a restroom and security, as well as other items down there that need to be taken care of this year. So we have a $744,000 capital budget. And the last slide, please. This gives you an idea of our cash flow. As you can see in estimated 2019, 2020, we were estimating about $4 million in ending project cash and investment balance. And 2020, 2021 will be at $4.9 million. 2021, 2022, we're estimated $9.4 million. And then it drops to $7.2 million in 2023. A lot of that has to do with projects and how they're being paid out, particularly two capital improvement projects we have with the FAA. One of them is the rehabilitation of runway 13 and 31, as well as the runway extension project. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Mark?
Yes, sir.
You said something, and I couldn't understand what you said something about a $20 million CARES?
We received $20.5 million in CARES funding from the federal government. That is a grant that's to Valley International Airport. We have 4 years to expend that grant.
Got it. So you're going to be able to take our short, because we don't have flights right now, continue with a full-level, full-forced airport and be able to supplement with the CARES.
That's correct.
The portion that's fundable.
That's correct. The
Perfect.
grant, all expenses and maintenance and expenses at the airport are reimbursable under that CARES grant. So we'll see nearly the $7 million in expenses we normally would have in any given year reimbursed out of that CARES grant.
So as flights continue to ramp back into the air, we're going to be at a service level that we're not going to be scrambling to try and find people.
That's right. You can see as the net cash balance there continues to climb. That's actually revenue that we are going to see. We projected over this next year that we would see zero increase for the first 6 months. We tried to be very conservative, and then after that we come to 50% of our norm. So there's still a lot of companies that, particularly cargo companies, that are doing very well at this point in time. So we're still seeing revenue, of course.
Very good. Thank you.
I just think it's important, Commissioner, also that because of how well run it is and the debt positions that we're at, I believe you have no debt or you have very little debt, they qualified to get. It's not like they just gave them the money, but because they have everything in line and it's so well run.
Thank you for reminding me.
They were able to qualify for that, which is awesome. I just think that's a phenomenal job.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that, Commissioner, because I think it's important, certainly worthy of noting and recognition. It was because of the, as Commissioner Uribe noted, the debt-free airport and the other metrics that were used to make that grant. It was significantly more than other larger cities that have airports that compete directly with Valley International. So it was a really tremendous accomplishment for our airport. Again, thank you for pointing that out.
Yes.
And has also helped us to assist the airlines in coming to
That's correct, Mayor.
keeping flights coming to Harlingen.
Yes, sir. That's correct. We did implement a rental accommodation program as well for all our tenants. It's very difficult and costly to bring new tenants, to bring new airlines to the airport and to the valley, and it's important that we retain those. So we're doing that. Airlines are very happy for it as well, and as stated on several occasions.
Okay, so is there a motion to approve of the resolution?
So moved, sir.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Uribe made the motion and seconded by Commissioner Leal. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like, and aye. All those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 10, consideration possible action to approve a resolution adopting the Harlingen Community Improvement Board budget for 2021.
Thank you, Mayor. The budget as presented on Exhibit A was approved by the Harlingen Community Improvement Board at their August 31, 2020 meeting. They have total revenues of $1,639,092 and total expenditures of $1,605,015. And there's an attachment, Exhibit A, for your review.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 11, that was in favor, Commissioner Esmar, right? There's a little bit of a delay. Item 11 is consideration possible action to approve an ordinance on first reading to amend the City of Harlingen's budget for fiscal year 2019-20.
Thank you, Mayor. This budget amendment allocates funds for awards, grants, and other revenues and expenditures not included in the current fiscal year, and this is for the current year budget. It's a budget amendment. As presented in Exhibit A, which displays total revenues, expenditures, and estimated fund balances by fund after amendment, and Exhibit B displays detailed changes in revenues and expenditures by account number. General fund revenues increased by $1,246,708. Expenditures increased by $1,351,608, and award programs restricted funds revenues decreased by $697,302, and expenditures decreased by $697,302, an equal amount. So total revenues increased by $549,406, expenditures increased by $654,306, and this is just also kind of some cleanup. We are trying to amend for grants that we have received. We also did better in our auction that we had previously budgeted for, and for a hike and bike trail, and to move over some of the Corona Relief Virus Fund over from 120 into the general fund.
So this budget amendment includes $500,000 to cover the shortfall for the next item on the agenda, which is the hike and bike trail extension project.
Okay.
Motion for
Staff recommends approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to, well, we need to read the caption, I think.
An ordinance amending the revenue and expenditure budget for the city of Harlingen, Texas for fiscal year October 1st, 2019 through September 30th, 2020. Total budget revenues will increase to $87,993,457, and total budget expenditures will increase to $95,139,923, respectively, for providing for publication of the caption of this ordinance, and ordaining other matters related to the foregoing.
Okay, now Commissioner.
Motion for approval.
Second.
All right,
Second.
we have motion. I think the second was by Commissioner Puente.
Okay. Yes.
And any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Thank you.
Motion carries. Item 12, consideration possible action to reject or accept or reject bids and award the contract for the construction of the Arroyo, Colorado Trail Extension under bid number 2020-18 to the lowest responsible bidder and authorize the city manager to sign all necessary documents.
Mayor, City Commission, this item here, if y'all recall, we applied for a grant to Valley Baptist Legacy Foundation back in 2018. It was for an amount of $1.2 million for the construction of the extension of the Arroyo hike and bike trail. It's a 10-foot wide trail. It's 1.6 miles long, and it'll have 3 prefabricated pedestrian bridge crossings. And it'll start at the Bogus Ford, just north of the Bogus Ford dealership, and it'll it'll run west towards Dixieland Road, and it'll fall short of Dixieland Road and then turn back. Like I mentioned, it's 1.6 miles. So we received bids. We received 5 bids. The lowest bidder was G&G Contractors, or RG Enterprise LLC, and his bid was $1,456,970.89, and that included the construction of a parking lot, which would go north of the parking lot of Bogus Ford. And of course, to comply with ADA, we needed to put that parking lot somewhere within the scope of the work. So staff recommends awarding the contract to RG Enterprise LLC, the lowest bidder, in the amount of $1.4 million. We did check his references. There was several projects that he's done that are trail projects. He did some in Hidalgo County. The majority of them were in Hidalgo County. He did some for the county itself. He did one for Mission CISD, and then he did one for the city of Mission. And so they varied from asphalt trails to decomposed crushed granite, and then some are concrete trails. So, again, if there are any questions?
And for the record, Mayor, Commissioners, the bid amount is $1,456,970.89.
I always ask this question, but we do have a protection on change orders. Like if there's any change orders over a certain amount, it'll come back to the commission, or not?
Yes, as a matter of fact, what is the amount? I think it's $50,000, isn't it? $50,000?
25%.
There is.
No, you can't increase or decrease a contract by more than 25%.
Correct.
But I know he's referring to change orders.
I think the question that keeps coming up is the change order because we requested something that wasn't on the initial bid, or was it something that they didn't catch? I deal with this with another board that I'm on, and we always come up with this catch-22.
Well, there's 2 different things I look at. One is value engineering, that we're not going to value engineer the project. They're going to come back and say, I bid 1.4. You know what? This will substitute it, and it's just the same, but we don't really get the value. So it's going to get done as proposed, right? But then the flip side of that, because something out of their control happens, and there has to be a change order, which is common, right? I just want to know that there's a protection that it's not going to go up another $200,000, or something that would have been favorable to anybody else that would have bid it, that wasn't taken into consideration. You understand? So because sometimes it's easy to lowball it, but there's a true cost to it, right? And I think we've used this company before, and I think they're pretty legit. But I always ask that question: is you know, are we protected with
Yeah,
the fact that we're going to stick with that amount?
So the contract cannot increase by more than 25%. What we could do, the city council could set a dollar amount. If you want those brought back for change orders, we can do that.
I would
Anything
suggest-
50,000 or less or more?
I think my always concern is, especially a project like this, you know, did they do their due diligence? Did they go out there, walk it, check it? And because I don't want to come back and say, well, you know, we didn't notice that there was a piling there. We're
Right.
going to have to remove the piling. It's going to cost you extra. I think my whole thing is that when we let the project out, unless it was something there's no way anybody could foresee.
Exactly.
Or we decided, oh, we don't like that bridge, we're going to use this bridge. That's something that we caused.
I mean, what was the engineer's, we hired a consultant engineer, right?
Yes, sir.
What was the engineer's estimate?
His estimate was, just the base bid was $1,315,341.
So he was in line with the engineer's
But
estimate.
the assurance is that we have specifications.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
We have plans and
they've bid
specifications.
the specifications, so the contract is for them to build it
According to
as
the
we
specs.
specified it, with the materials that we specified it, where we specified it, and where, and how we specified it. So so they've agreed to do that. And then,
Without
either
valuation.
party, and then if they say, well, I mean, but that's the contract, and they're supposed to fulfill their
Well, and keep in mind, it's a good point, Mayor, because keep in mind, it is raw land, it's the Arroyo. There aren't utilities down there like other projects where you run into conflicts.
There you go.
Also, you don't have the traffic control issue down there.
Yes.
You're basically working on your own.
Yes, sir. To Commissioner Dial's point, though, there's a big difference between that you couldn't have foreseen that. They should have done their homework. So if you don't mind, I'd like to propose we award the bid to this current contractor, but put like $100,000 cap on any kind of change order, any effect of that if in case that happens, whether it's an unforeseen circumstance or a circumstance that we caused, that it would come back to this commission at least for a review or for an approval.
We could do that.
I have no problem with it.
Yeah, okay, that's a motion.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Leal. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the motion carries, and we should not we should not leave this subject until we express again our appreciation to the Legacy Foundation
Absolutely.
for their generous support of the project and their interest in promoting healthy lifestyles for the people of Harlingen. This is going to be a great addition to our
I'm almost there.
Parks and Trails system. All right. Item 13, consideration possible action to accept or reject a bid to award a contract for the Buchanan Avenue Sidewalk Improvements Project under bid number 2020-13 to the only responded bidder.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. We went out for bid on this project and we received one bid on it. It was higher than we had expected, and what we're asking is the ability to enter into negotiations with the contractor to see if we can bring his price down more in line with our budget.
It's a motion for an approval.
Well, so
What kind of motion, we're going to need a motion that says
To allow him to.
to allow them to
go
negotiate and then they have to bring it back to us for approval?
That is correct. We will negotiate and then we will bring it back in front of you once we've either reached negotiations or we're unable to reach negotiations.
Did you start that and I interrupted you?
I would ask for a range, Andy, so that we don't have to delay the project and bring it back.
Sure.
Is there a range that the commission would be comfortable with?
I would leave that up, the range where you feel comfortable, where the staff feels comfortable with.
The budget was 48.
No, I mean.
yeah, well, I know, but if you publicly state a range,
Right.
then you've given away your negotiating authority.
Yeah, that's a good point, Mayor. So I would just ask that you leave it to our engineer to
The
negotiate.
engineers
Yeah.
and the city manager's discretion.
Okay.
We've done this before.
Yes, that's a good motion.
Yes.
Second?
Second.
Did you second it? Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item 14, board appointments. Are there any board appointments?
No, sir, I
No,
have none.
I have none.
Any board appointments? Mike, any board appointments?
Negative.
All right, item 15 is an executive closed session attorney-client consultation pursuant to Section 551.0712 of the Texas Government Code to receive legal advice and counsel in connection with the city's rights, duties, privileges, and obligations under Chapters 143 and 174 of the Texas Local Government Code and related to the collective bargaining labor agreement between the city and the duly recognized bargaining agent for the city's law enforcement personnel, the Harlingen Police Officers Law Enforcement Association. Is there a motion to go into executive session?
So moved. Second.
Motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. We are in executive session. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a possible action item on this, so the commission will return to the chamber after we've consulted with our attorney. Yep.
Oh, he's already on. That was fast. Can you hear us?
Okay, we have, Mike is back. So we're out of executive session at 7:11 p.m. We'll now go to item 16, which is consideration and possible action to approve the collective bargaining agreement between the City of Harlingen and the Harlingen Police Officers Law Enforcement Association for fiscal year 2020-2021 through fiscal year 2022 through 2023. Is there a motion to approve the agreement as negotiated?
So moved, Mayor.
Second. Have a motion by Commissioner Leal, and a second by Commissioner Rudy-Bay.
I think the association wanted to
Rudy-Bay.
say something. You want to say something?
Sir. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Commission. My name is JP Rodriguez. I'm the South Texas field rep for TMPA. We had the privilege of negotiating for HPOLEA, and I just want to thank you on behalf of TMPA and the association. I can tell you from experience of negotiating contracts for about 2 decades now, it went really smooth this time around compared to some of our dealings with other municipalities. Rebecca knows what I'm talking about. But I just want to say thank you to Mr. Serna, to Rebecca, and to Mr. Fernandez for their professionalism. And I also want to commend you for taking steps to keep us moving in a positive direction when so many other municipalities are looking at the possibility of either defunding or abolishing police departments. We feel like this is an investment in the men and women that are out there serving and protecting your community. So the message from us and from the association is just thank you. I myself serve as a city councilman for the city of Weslaco, so I understand firsthand the challenges, especially in these unknown times during a pandemic. So again, I just want to thank you guys. And I don't know if anybody else wants to speak, but thank you.
Oh, now you guys don't want to talk.
Well, wait.
They said a lot during negotiations.
Wait, save it until they vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, unanimously approved. So thank you, and thank you. We're proud of our police department. We're proud of the job that the men and women of the Harlingen Police Department do. City Commission wants to do everything that we can do to support our department and the men and women to keep our community safe. So we thank you for the job that you do, and we thank you for being able to come together and reach this very good agreement for the city and for our officers, our men and women. So thank you very much. With that, I believe that we have no other items on the agenda. We will be adjourned. Thank you all. Good night. Be safe.